Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're talking about Super Bagman.
Man, you souped so far, you went off the scale there. Super.
So, Aaron, Bagman and the Amiga have a connection that goes back years and years and years. A
Oh,
lot of people
yeah?
don't realize. Do you know where Bagman lives?
The Big F.
No. He
Oh,
lives
I
in
don't know then.
Sacktown.
Oh, would you get out of here with that? Get it out of here.
So,
That's
Bagman,
that
Super
sucked.
Bagman. We'll talk about We'll leave normal Bagman for another day. This game was released in 1984, and this game was released upon the world by Stern.
Yeah,
Stern, of course,
I saw that.
had nothing to do with the programming of this game, but they were the distributor of not only the French team behind Bagman, but lots of other outfits as well. Do you know what famous Japanese outfit they worked as the distributor in the early 80s?
No, I've got no idea.
They were the exclusive North American distributor of Konami.
Really? No, I didn't
Yes.
know. I did not know.
So, like, for example, Scramble, Super Cobra, Turtles, Jungler, Amadar, all these games were Stern games, but they were programmed by Konami.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty
No, I had no
crazy.
idea. Yeah,
I
that's
had no idea
wacky.
either.
Because
Yeah,
you don't think Stern was, of course, predominantly was a pinball
right,
manufacturer.
right.
But yeah, and of course, they did, like, for example, I believe they did Berserk and Frenzy and some other stuff like that, some American games. But I never thought of them as a foreign distributor. But now that I think about it, a lot of people were doing that for the obvious reasons because
Well,
that was a gold mine.
right, because what they did, they came out with Berserk in 1980, and that was an original Stern joint. They paid programmers and did that themselves. But then, somebody got the bright idea, hey, there's a million billion great Japanese games out there, and these guys don't have a US distributor. So why don't we get on board with them? And it worked out well until it didn't. Unfortunately, Stern really invested heavily into, and you've heard this before, Laserdisc technology. And just
Yeah.
like every other company that invested heavily into Laserdisc technology, it bankrupted them almost immediately. In fact, Super Bagman was the as far as I can tell, the final game released by Stern, the final video game, arcade game released by Stern after releasing Cliffhanger and Goal to Go, which were both Laserdisc games. Which Cliffhanger I've played, and it's it is what it is. But I've not heard of Goal to Go. Have you played that Laserdisc game? I know you're a big Laserdisc guy.
Well, so Cliffhanger was based on the Japanese anime.
Right, right.
The name fails me off the top of my head, but it's where the guy's the thief. And then,
Lupin
Cliffhanger
the
was
Third. Lupin the
Lupin.
Third.
That's
Yeah.
right. And I liked. I mean, the game Cliffhanger was a lot harder than most of the other Lasers games because you used the buttons to control your hands and feet. That was a weird gimmick, and it was also had some kind of gruesome scenes in it. I remember watching the demo. I was like, "Geez,"
Mm.
but I did play that a lot. Me and Brent got pretty good at Cliffhanger once we got home. Goal to Go. Is that the football? There was a football lasers game, and I don't know if that's the one, but I did play it in the arcade. If you can believe that, they used to have it down at the Canal City Arcade, Canal Mall Arcade. But I don't know if that's the football
That's
game or
it.
if
It
it's
is,
another.
and it is a football game, as
It's
in
like,
real football, like American football.
yeah, it's
It-
two teams.
right.
It's called like the Rams and the Chargers or something like that. I can't remember who was in it, or the Raiders, and you actually pick plays. That's a real, because that game doesn't even emulate correctly, as I recall. But I mean, I played that actual arcade machine. If you can
That
believe it,
is
that's how old I
wow.
am.
That is crazy. Yeah, this is one
Yeah,
I've never heard of this before. And but yeah, you're right on. You're right on. It is
nobody
a
played it
Laserdisc American football game.
when it
So,
first came out at the arcade. I was there. I was there, like, I mean, right after they brought it out, because I used to hit that arcade a lot because they had a lot of laser games, and I was into them. And I remember, it had full commentary, and you had game highlights and the
mhm.
whole shtick. But as a game, it's funny. As a game, I don't remember much about how it played, if I'm honest. But if I would wager they didn't make too many of those. So much like Thayer's Quest, I think we got lucky on that one too. I don't think they made too many of either one of those, and we actually had them both locally. It's crazy to think about.
That is crazy. So anyway, one of these days, Aaron, you're gonna have to add a Laserdisc arcade show to the retro rotation because
That'd be a quick show. About 25 episodes, and we're out the door.
So anyway, that's a little bit about Stern. Now, 1984. Again, this year's Summer of Arcade is the year of 1984 games. I'm going to give you three more titles released in 1984. You got
All right.
Kung Fu. Now,
Th-
did you actually do that in the arcade? Did you play that, or was that just a C64 game for you?
Nope, I played that in the arcade too. That
Mm,
was a popular game. And the funny thing about that game, I don't know, have you played that one much, both
no,
Yar
no.
Kung Fu? So that was a neat game because it was a fighting game, and you would take on different guys. You'd have a guy that was like nunchucks, and you have a guy that had a staff. There was a chick named Star that throwing stars and spears and whatnot. It was actually a pretty good game, but it controlled strange because underneath your guy was an arrow that would point up, down, up, or diagonal left or diagonal right, and that's the way you were going to go when you hit the joystick. So you sort of like had to predetermine how you were going to jump. It's a fun game, and I believe the C64 version even expanded and expounded upon the arcade. I can't remember if there was a sequel or if it was just the one they released, but I mean, I saw Flack play it one time, and it was more robust.
Mm.
So that was a fun game. I like that one.
Now, the biggest release of 1984 was the direct sequel to Galaga, Gapless.
Yeah,
Gapless, Aaron. This I've
yeah.
never played Gapless before in my life. Is it a worthy successor to Galaga?
It stinks. No, I
Mm,
didn't like it. I didn't
mm,
like that one. I don't like anything after Galago in terms of
mm.
that series. They again another goofy, fruity, stupid sequel. I didn't like it. No, no
Mm.
good.
So anyway, that was what was going on in the arcades in 1984.
So
The
Yar Kung
develop
Fu. That's
That's
it.
right. And of course, all the other games that we've talked about on all the other
Yeah.
1984 episodes that we've done. Next up, let's talk about the developers. So these guys, this is probably the most famous French arcade development team in the golden era. You had old Jacques Brice and you had Alan Valadon. Okay. And these guys worked on Pickin', which I've not played before, and Tank Busters, which I think was an Atari. Wasn't that an Atari release, Tank Busters?
You got me. I don't know that one.
Okay, well, maybe
Those
I
are
could be wrong about that. But anyway, this was one of the first French arcade titles exported to US operators. This was developed in a place called Chalon-sur-Saône, oh, France. And it was licensed to Stern, who was based out of where, Aaron? You got to know.
Chicago.
Yeah, that's right, Chicago. So, what was inside this bad boy? It had a single Z80 processor running at 3 megahertz. The sound subsystem was two General Instrument AY chips, plus a TI chip for speech. The video spec, the thing was running on a typical monitor, 224 by 256. And the controls in this game were a leaf switch joystick and a button. So that's what you had there. Actually, I think you had two buttons, a
Two
pickaxe and a
buttons.
bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Um, so that is a little bit about what was inside the Super Bag Man. Uh, and
When you put it that
next up,
way, that
let's talk about what you actually do in the game. So, you are a robber. This is kind of like the inverse of Keystone Capers. Keystone Capers I think it was a VCS exclusive, at least at first, which you play a police officer trying to catch a robber, a department store robber. Well, in this game, you
yeah,
play as
great
the
game.
bad guy. You play as the bad guy, and you are trying to get sacks of cash and put them in your wheelbarrow at the surface before you either get caught or time runs out. Um, you've got guards, you got these other miners that are trying to chase you down. And you've got a bunch of different mining type accoutrement. You've got your elevators, you've got your carts, you've got your ladders, all of that type of thing. This game is a very large well, it's not a single screen game. It's a widescreen. I don't know. It's
Like a
like
flip screen.
It's
Flip
like a flip
screen.
screen. It's a 5-screen flip screen platform action game. This is really unique. I mean, I can't think of another flip screen 5-screen action game from anywhere close to when Super Bagman came out. Can you?
No, this game to me, this is like playing like it's like the arcade version of like a ZX game. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this is much
absolutely.
more like a Bagman was the same way. This was much more like a home computer game than it was an arcade game. It really has it doesn't jive well with an arcade setting. To me, this always seemed like a game like that. But I mean, it is what it is. And that's what makes it unique. Amongst the arcade games, there's not really anything quite like this one. I don't think.
Yeah, yeah. This is just some other things that were changed from the original to the sequel. The first game only had a 4-way stick, and the sequel has an 8-way stick, which you need because you got to do a lot of precision jumping in this game. This game, man, this is the one, Aaron, where you want to play the French version
Oh
because
yeah.
that TI speech chip it blurts a line like "a moi le maggot," which is French for "I am Farmer Maggot." When Joe nabs a money bag and "I," which is French for when he dies. So
I
this is a rare game. Bagman, Super Bagman. You never see it. It is one of the more rare titles from the golden era. And another kind of fun fact that I found out from the Internet Archive is that the Ocean over in the UK they rethemed this game and called it Gilligan's Gold and released it on the ZX Spectrum, the C64, and the Amstrad.
huh. Okay,
So yeah, yeah. So
that's
that's
good stuff there,
yeah,
bud.
yeah. So maybe this a future R. Sinclair title here.
Yeah.
Um, so this it says that let's see here. According to the video game sales wiki, this thing got 3 million, netted 3 million in factory sales and 9 million in coin drop. So for 1984, I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad. It seems like 9 million is a lot of money to make, as far as the money that came in. Um, and it says that the production run, the exact figures were never published. Replay and arcadehunters.blogspot.com, which I got this from, says that there's only about 10 dedicated uprights left worldwide.
Wow. Wow.
So,
You
yeah.
know the funny thing. So if you've of course you've played the original Bagman, right?
Yeah.
Which I was way more familiar with. This week was the most time I've ever spent playing attempting to play Super Bagman. Just for the record, I stunk at Bagman, and I'm just as bad at this. So I don't want maybe to be tricked. But I did think it was neat if you watch the flavor text roll through the screen. Did you watch the little backstory it has?
No, no, I
So
button.
I watched this on the home conversion, which we'll get to in a second on the Amiga, but it came from the arcade. There's a little it's like someone sending a telegram that the Bagman has escaped from Alcatraz,
Oh
and
yeah,
they've
I
got
did see that. I
yeah,
did
and the
see that.
cops are hot on his trail, and like they think they're like, listen, he has access to a gun, but our policy is to not shoot first. It says like he'll probably try to break his buddy out of the dungeon. And sure enough, you've got a buddy in this game that's in the dungeon. You can go break him out. You have to dig him out. So it's got a lot. It's got some backstory on what's going on with the guy. So this is a direct sequel. So it is. But I found that interesting that it just assumed that after the first game, your guy had been captured and sent to Alcatraz. Because if it was me playing, there was no doubt that he was captured or killed. And I will say he's not coming home alive in this game because I killed this guy over and over and over because of my poor play. But
Yeah,
yeah, there is a continuing story from the original, and he's down in the mines because that's where he left all the gold he stole. You see, so that's why he came back down here to this other mine. So they did continue the story.
I should mention that the part of the strategy in this game is that you have all these sacks of money that are distributed throughout the level, and you have to decide in what order you want to kind of tackle this stuff because you've got these guys that are on your tail, these minor guards, and you can dispatch them by either dropping the socks of bunny on their heads as you climb up a ladder. You can get a pickaxe and dismember them with your pickaxe. Or luckily enough in this mine, there's a gunsmith. You know it's a gunsmith because there's a big sign that says gunsmith
Yeah.
right there in the mine, like every coal mine. And so you go down and you get yourself a gun, and then you can just straight up waste guys. Now their deaths are never permanent. They just kind of shake their arms for a while, then they get back up. But there are lots of offensive weapons, which I think is a cool thing. And but this game is a game where it's very similar to a Donkey Kong type game where fall damage is real and fall damage is everywhere. You have so many opportunities to fall to your death. And it really is jarring in a game like this because, like you said, I really feel like this is a 8-bit computer game disguised as an arcade game. They're really pushing the limits about what you are trying to do with just sort of like a quarter drop type game, don't you think?
I agree with you on that, and I will say the additional bit where you're jumping in this. I tried the arcade version of this before I tried the Amiga version, and on both versions, jumping to me was, I'm not gonna say it was impossible, but it was no, I was not good at it. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. It's got its own. Your guy, your guy has almost like a long step he takes when he jumps, and and you have to hit the button before you get to the point where you're gonna jump. And I had all kinds of trouble timing those jumps. Did you have as much as I did?
It's incredibly frustrating. The
Yeah,
game is
it is.
and it's a shame because the jumping sections, they could have just left those out and the game would have been a lot more fun, in my opinion. But anyway, Aaron, is there anything else you want to say about the arcade version of this game before we move on to the Amiga?
Let's just roll right into it,
Okay,
Bodie.
man, let's do
With a
it.
nice sampling of the. This is the audio that awaits you, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely. The that was straight from the Amiga for Super Bagman. So let's talk about how we got here. We're Super Bagman because this is not the kind of game that anyone was ever going to sell on the Amiga. I promise you. This was another of the JOTD specials that he brought over. This is a game that he used. The game is 99% transcoded from the original code, and some of the things in the original code he actually fixed. There's also, he does use some sound samples in here, and there are some original bugs that were in the game that he just left in, which you sort of have to, I think. He does not have any additional menus or anything in this thing, but everything, as far as he knows, is good to go. And he credits, as always, he credits his buddies for helping him out. Danny PPC for the icons, Damien D for the floppy menus, PHX for the music code for the Amiga, and a few others for like Tony Weiland for WinUAE. So he really helps everybody out. But I mean, this is a no frills version. You can use the numeric. You can use the keyboard or your joystick to play it. And this was not the first time I played this on the Amiga. I tried this. I believe I tried this during my JOTD stream. But I mean, trust me when I tell you, I had a cup of coffee with it on that stream because I was like, well, I suck at this.
Mm-hmm.
And so this week I thought I'm going to get stuck in. This is the week that I'm going to get past the first level of one of these Bagman games that was wrong and dumb. Like I mentioned, this gamer has you jumping, which you didn't jump in the first game, and I had trouble jumping. Bo mentioned this is a 5-screen flip screen game. And like he mentioned, you have to get all the money in the wheelbarrow. Okay, wheelbarrow's on the top screen. This game has several elevators. It's got a personal elevator and like a freight elevator in it. So you can move your wheelbarrow around.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get all the money into the wheelbarrow, every time you put money in the wheelbarrow, money sack with the money sign on it, you get points. When you put it all in there, you'll have access to a key. And you can go get the key and run over, and once you got the key, you could go rescue your buddy in the dungeon. And then there's a sort of a hilarious scene, I don't know if you saw this, where the bagman literally lifts his buddy up like the end of Officer and Gentleman and carries him carries him off the screen the whole way, which I thought was pretty amusing. But it was also touching in a way. I guess your
Hmm.
punishment that doesn't like can't walk.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
because these prison guards have been, you know, I don't know, they've been feeding him. Um, you also have access to, as Boat mentioned, a gun if you can get there, and bombs. The guards in this are like zombies. Like you kill them, and they'll go down like I don't know, like the Undertaker. But then like they go, "Brr," they rise back up, and they
Hmm.
want some more. And if they touch you, you're done. You can also, aside from hitting them with the money bags or cut up ladders, you can hit them with the pickaxe, the bomb, the gun. They can also just which is always funny when it happens. They can also just fall to their own deaths occasionally when they screw up and they go through one of these mine shafts. This mine makes the mines of West Virginia look like a cakewalk. Danger lurks around every turn in these mines, these gold mines in France. So I pity those guys. How did you think this thing played, Bode, having played the arcade version?
Um, yeah, this is I'd say out of all the Summer of Arcade games that we've played,
Yeah.
this is right up there with as far as picture perfect realism in terms of what you've got, what you see in the arcade is what you get on the Amiga. I couldn't find any major flaws in the graphics or the gameplay. Could you?
Well, that weren't in the arcade
Yeah,
version?
yeah,
No.
because I can find. Yeah, yeah. I'm just talking about this is a straight up
Yeah.
port of what you get in the arcade version.
Yeah, I mean, I did a side by side on this just for you watching at home. You'd be hard pressed to pick out the. I mean, look at that boat. It's
Yeah,
quite remarkable.
yeah.
But I mean, it's a transcode. That's what's supposed to happen. And JOTD, of course, he's done a few of these. If you know what I mean. He did Bagman too, so I wasn't terribly surprised that it was awesome. But I will say one of the advantages of having access to this at home is that you could take some chances and try some wacky stuff. And like I mentioned earlier, this does remind me of like an 8-bit game that you would play. And so they give you, I think you get 5 men on this, which is nice because you're going to go through them. It's a difficult game that I've never completed the first level on. I'd like to. You can see, by the way, this is me playing if you're watching. So all the times you see me attempt to jump and fall to my death, I was trying. You know, it's hard. But it's a fun game, but it's challenging. But if you've got it at home, it gives you've got more time to put into it. I think you might have more success doing that. Luckily, with the WHD version of this game, they give you a lot of additional flags you can hit, but you have to set them before the game boots up. So if you want to have infinite time, for example, that timer. How often did that come into play for you, the old timer? I was
Never.
usually well dead
Yeah.
before the timer kicked in. So that was never a problem. Did you like this in the I mean, I know you never saw this in the arcade, but as an arcade game, is this one that do you find this fun?
No.
Oh,
No. No,
there
I
you
don't find
go.
this fun. I find this difficult. I find it frustrating. It's not a game that I enjoy, and I think that they could have made it better. Uh, they could have left all the mechanics in, just as they are. But what you want to do is you want to introduce the player gradually to the mechanics of Bagman, of the world of
Yeah.
Bagman. So you would the first stage should just be one screen. And it should be just like there should be two sacks of money and one guard, and all you have to do is, drop it off there. And at least that way, you're giving the player some sense of accomplishment. Do it like Atari did with so many of their games where you can, easy, medium, and hard. And when you start on the harder difficulties, you can start on this stage, the 5 screen stage, and maybe get like an 8,000 point bonus or whatever. But this game awards no wins to the novice player, and I am the novice player. I don't like games with fall damage either. I just don't like them. I just it's a
Yeah, well,
big
you're in
yeah,
the wrong game here.
yeah, and so there's not a lot. I do enjoy sort of the vastness of the level. I think it's cool that you walk across and it seems like the game just keeps going. Again, it reminds me of a lot of games that I played back on the Atari computer growing up. I played tons of games that were like this. And but for me, if I'm choosing a money, if I'm choosing my hard-earned quarters to go into a machine, this would be a one and done experience for me.
Yeah, when I did see the original Bagman in the arcade, and I was as perplexed then as I was with this. I just didn't get. I was like, "What is this? Weird." But I like young Aaron liked these sorts of games where you've got all this real estate to run amok in. That's fun. So I can see myself cheating and enjoying a game like this. Uh, I don't see a lot of people like playing this for a high score, for example.
Right.
It just and the funny thing is, I don't know how many. I don't know if this level just repeats over and over with more guard. I have no idea. I've never seen past this level, so I don't know. One of these days I hope to find out. But for the most part, you could play the Amiga version of this and not even bother having to load up the arcade. I mean, they're that identical.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be safe to go. But really, I mean, this is one that I can't take a deep dive in terms of play strategies. I can what I try to do is gather the money. My old strategy used to be on Bagman was to get the money at the top of the screen, but it's a lot harder in this one to do that. And so I've tried throwing all the money down to the bottom of the screen, but the problem I run into is I get confused with the buttons on the side of the screen, and I tend to when you get the bag right beside the gap, it causes me trouble. So and throwing money letting money go down the shaft seems difficult. I always had trouble positioning my guy where it would go down the shaft,
Yeah, you
and
really
I
have
wouldn't
to.
die.
Yeah, you really have to like. It's almost like you got to creep up and then face backwards. It's awkward. Everything about this game is just sort of awkward.
It is satisfying when you're on the tracks and the mine car comes by and you've got one of these guards right on your hiney and you can jump up, grab the handle and hop in the mine car and sail off down the
Yeah,
hall.
that
I
is
do
cool.
love
Yeah.
that. And in this one they've added like a slide that you go down, which you just saw me fall to my death on it. The slide sort of makes you jump at the end, and I always died like almost every time, but still it's a slide. Pretty
Mhm.
cool. There's like an up escalator in this. Like I said, there's 2 elevators in it. So they put a lot of fun little toys to fiddle with in it. You just have to not suck. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not sucking's not what I can do. So that's pretty much the long and short of a boat. I don't have much to add to this one. This is definitely an arcade game that's meant to be played at home, and playing it on the Amiga feels pretty right. I mean, my suggestion if you're gonna give this a whirl at home, load it up, turn on all the cheats, and just go through it and have a good time and experience it that way. And if you get good enough doing that to where you can try to go for a score, you can always come back and try it that way. Any final thoughts on this one?
Nope, got nothing. We've said it all.
There you go. So that's Super Bagman. And of course, a big thumbs up to JOTD. Of course, he always does good work. If you pick this up over at itch.io, please, we beseech you, throw this man a couple dollary dues.
If you ask any Amiga repair technician what the most problematic component of a motherboard is, they'll undoubtedly mention capacitors. The electrolytic capacitors that shipped with the Amiga are 30 years old or older at this point, and each one is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode battery acid all over your motherboard, sometimes damaging it irrevocably. Don't wait. Replace your capacitors now. Full capacitor kits for every Amiga model are available now at retrorewind.ca. Don't want to attempt the repair yourself? Use their white glove recap service and leave the intricate removal and soldering process to the professionals using industry standard equipment. Use the promo code Amigos10 at checkout and save 10% off your cap kit or service. Remember, make retrorewind.ca your first stop for all your Commodore computer needs.
All right, Aaron, what do we have coming up next week on Amigos?
Let's find out, Boater. Ooh, it's Rise of the Dragon. Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds pretty good, Bode.
we've checked this out briefly.
Yeah.
One of our Amigathons in the past. I'm looking forward to giving it a good hard look.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/Amigos podcast. Get access to our Discord channel. You get a nice Christmas card every year and our eternal gratitude plus a magnet. We'll see you guys next week, and until then, adios.
Adios.
Amigos is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos Podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.